What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mountain Witch Tarot channel. I am your host, Sarah. Today we are talking about Donald Trump in the month of August. Before we get started, hit that like button. And if you like political divination, feel free to stick around, hit the subscribe. Today we're going to look into some big things coming for Trump in the month of August. It does seem like August is going to be kind of a hectic month for Donald Trump. First thing we're going to start with, we're going to do a little short spread, maybe 7 cards for Donald Trump's health in the month of August. We want to get kind of an overall look at what we might expect. We want to kind of look into if there's any big significant event coming. All right, so let's get 7 cards to start with for Donald Trump's health in the month of August. First card up, the lilies. Lilies can be the card of old age, amongst other things. Right off, abundance of new problems, some new challenges, some new obstacles over here. And this is all old age related, I do believe. We have here the heart, the letter, and the ring. Now, this is kind of an interesting combination for health. Let me just scoot these up a little so you can see them. I feel like this could be a little bit of debate around what is going on with his health. Not so much a health problem, but it could come out in the month of August that he is dealing with some heart issues. And I think they're going to be pretty defensive about this. I just get the feeling that they're not going to want to come up off this information because, as usual, they like to keep his health issues on the down low and pretend like, you know, things are better than what they truly are. But due to the old age, we will likely see some pretty big challenges in the month of August for Donald Trump's health. All right, so let's get the next spread. Next thing we want to know, is August going to be an easy month for Donald Trump? I think this is a good question because it kind of gives us a little bit of insight from, you know, a big picture point of view. No, he's not going to. I don't even need to see the other 6 cards. So that's the mountain card. That is a big obstacle, big challenge, or even an enemy. So there are a few things coming up here that are popping into mind for this, and we might actually draw a few tarot cards for this once we're kind of done here. So you have on this side, it looks like he is working pretty hard to bury something. And because, you know, it's the ring card, I feel like it's something valuable. He's working just like a wild animal, okay? Imagine a fox carries a big shiny diamond ring off into the forest and wants to keep it forever, so he digs a little hole and he drops a ring in and then he covers it back up with dirt. That's Donald Trump this month. But it's going to be a hard month. Keep that in mind. So this challenge is probably not going to be an easy one, but definitely see Donald Trump trying to bury something here. And, you know, the Epstein energy right now is pretty tense. So we could be seeing a reference to Epstein information still in this spread. We won't know until later. Over here we have the garden, the clover, and the key. This combination says to me that he will have very little control over the situation because the key is normally, you know, in a way, it's kind of the control you have for a solution or the solutions in general that you have for a problem. And I get the sense that with the garden and clover, there's very little he can do to kind of like bring his luck back when it comes to public opinion. There's definitely risk involved with something having to do with the public. With the mountain at the center, this is some type of public challenge. We're going to watch him struggle. We're going to watch him flail with this. Of course, he's going to try to downplay it. That sounds pretty obvious, but it is here in the cards, you know, with the clover being a small, wispy thing. He's going to want to make this problem that he's trying to bury seem like a small, little, insignificant thing. And I think that there is also kind of another meaning here in regard to destiny and fate. All of these things, these events that we're watching him struggle with right now are kind of like, I don't know, like a karmic return. So it's going to be interesting to watch him struggle through this. Let's actually just draw a few tarot cards and see what we get in regard to this. See if tarot can give us a little clarification. That's not good for Donald Trump. Interestingly enough, the Titanic sinking is the image. So not good, not a good sign. I feel like we're definitely on the right track with that karmic return. Two of Swords, decisions, strength. Now, I see the strength card differently than a lot of people do, depending on the type of reading. For me, it's always about reaching into a mouthful of sharp teeth, because you're in a position to where you only have one choice and the only way out is through. And so I can kind of see this as being a situation where he has to do something that he really does not want to do in order to get the outcome that he needs to keep moving along. So this is pretty bad news for Donald Trump. Let's get a few more cards here. And our jumper card is, and by the way, this is the first time I'm using this deck, so bear with me if I'm a little slow on figuring out what they are. Also, I'm looking at them through my camera lens, so I can't see them that well. Nine of Wands, interesting. The Hierophant, Five of Swords. So I kind of see this in a couple of different ways. I feel like there is a little bit of an energy of falling out with people. Maybe people, you know, kind of like his public breakup with Elon. It might be another situation like that. It could be a situation where he just continuously loses more and more MAGA supporters. When it comes to social acceptance, I kind of see him really getting hammered by the critics. And the critics are probably going to be people that in the past were pretty loyal supporters. So I feel like there's a big rift here, you know? And I wish I could be more specific. Let's see if I can get anything else. I definitely feel like a lot of the criticism that he's going to get is represented here in the Hierophant card, because I think more and more people are starting to see that he's not this traditional conservative beacon of hope or whatever the hell they thought he was at some point in time. You know, I know a lot of MAGA believes that he is like a man of God and all that. But I think that that illusion is starting to kind of break away. And people are not going to see him as anything but, well, I don't think I can say what I actually want to say. So let's just leave it at that. So we didn't have a card jump out. We're going to shuffle and pick two more to go with it and see if we can get any other information here. What was the jumper? Oh, the jumper was actually two cards. And I normally don't like to take two at a time, but let's see what we got here. So we've got the Eight of Wands. That's interesting, because didn't we just get, yeah, we got the Nine of Wands and the Eight of Wands. That's a pretty bad sign for him considering the context here. And then we got the Eight of Pentacles. And what is our third card? Ace of Cups. Let's go ahead and pick two more. One for each side since we shuffled. Queen of Pentacles. Judgment. There are so many references here to the idea of abundance. And then we end on the Judgment card. So what I said earlier about, his karmic return, I think that is what we're kind of seeing here. Because, with these two cards, if we just start at the beginning here, this kind of makes me feel like just something that he's worked towards, something that he has worked really hard to balance or manage, whatever the case may be. Everything is coming so quickly, and it's drawing up this emotional state that, I don't think that he's really accustomed to having to face his emotions. But all of these things are just kind of out of control at this point, to the point that it feels like a Judgment Day moment. It feels like a reckoning, like, perhaps he's looking at this situation and the way things are going and thinking, like, where did I go wrong? Because, of course, he would not recognize the truth about the answer to that question. But I really get the sense of him just looking at things and kind of throwing up both hands and saying, I don't know if I can do this, And what's interesting about that is I've had a theory for a long time. While other people across the internet are talking about him potentially buying the farm, so to speak, biting the dust, ceasing to exist, whatever you want to call it. If you look at history, how does every dictator story end? Generally speaking, a lot of them either, some faction comes after them and runs them out and they flee to safety in another country. Some of them, perhaps fake their own demise. I kind of wonder, and I have this pressing feeling quite often, is there a chance we could see Donald Trump fake his own you-know-what, flee to another country, and then just live out the rest of his days in hiding? That's really something that I feel strongly about. Everybody else is saying that they think, August is a significant month for his being on this planet, I guess we'll say. I know a lot of people are now saying September. I just haven't had a feeling of him actually, whating. But more than anything, I think it's likely he will run. And it could be that, we think that it happened, when the truth of the matter is it didn't happen yet. He just ran for the hills. So, okay, enough ramble about that. This is a very convoluted spread at this point. Let me clear these up, and we will get into his grand tableau for August. Let's start here with 2 lines, because I think it's more interesting if we kind of unfurl the tableau together in real time instead of me just laying it out and then we talk about it. The first thing I've got to say is that there are a lot of cards in that top line that have come out in his smaller readings. Some that I did off camera before I started filming, and some from earlier in the video. So that's an interesting observation. The second thing is I'm already getting a vibe that we are going to see people removed from the White House. Now, I've been telling you guys this for, I don't know, probably since before the Jeffrey Epstein fiasco began. There's going to be some cuts. It just keeps coming up. Somebody significant in the administration is going to leave. I don't know who it's going to be. Wish we could tell. Someone who is a loyalist and also part of the administration, because as you can see right here, loyalist, administration, and what's in between them? The clouds. So there's some type of trouble brewing between the loyalists and the administration coming out of the White House here. There's some type of destruction happening within these two groups of people. And then we have, with the tower here, kind of like a long-term situation, something that maybe has been coming for a while. Maybe they've been putting it off. Now, another thing that's interesting over here, and I've never seen anything like this in a Trump tableau, This kind of looks like he might have a new love interest. It's interesting. He's standing on his heart. That's something Trump would do if he had a new love interest. We all know he's not necessarily very capable of real love. So it's his version of love. Could also be some type of event at the White House this month, or he could get outed for having a new person in his life, which is kind of interesting. I feel like there'd be a lot of gossip surrounding it. Now, we kind of already talked about it, but we already got 2 of the cards for the heart of the story here, which is the rats and the White House. And we get this quite a bit for Donald Trump. We see destruction, figuratively and probably literally speaking, when it comes to his presence, his energy, and his administration in the White House. So not a surprise there. On the top line, Donald Trump is back. His energy is presenting on the top line. So he's at a point right now where he feels like he's in control of whatever is revealed in this tableau. I do not love that for him. But again, like I mentioned, we are seeing some reference to some things that came out in his cards before. And actually, it's funny, when I did the first Trump health reading, I ended up getting a phone call and I had to cut that video off and scrap it. The first card I got for his health reading was actually the cross, but I didn't get to finish that spread because I got a phone call. So we've got the cross, we've got the lilies possibly representing, old age and issues thereof. And then the snake in between the cross and the lilies. So looks like there could be some surprise stuff going on. We'll kind of see what we've got as we go through the cards here. So let's go ahead and get the 3rd line and the 4th line. I'll go ahead and lay those out. We now have the other 2 cards for the center of the reading. These, of course, being the most important cards in the tableau. From here to here, we're seeing the reappearance of 2 pretty significant cards from another reading. So you got the mountain, ship, anchor, garden. This, I believe, is there's a challenge or an enemy coming out, traveling into the spotlight, moving into maybe even Trump's space, coming closer towards him. Something he's going to be confronted by within the first 2 weeks of August, because remember, that's what this tableau time frame is the first 2 weeks of August. And this is something that has some sticking power in the public eye. So this is not a problem that he's going to get rid of very easily. It's going to be heavy and cumbersome, and it is going to have lots of public attention. All right, let's do the 4th line together. I think it's all going to fit on here, so I don't think I need to move the camera or anything. So let's go ahead and do the 4th line. We reassigned the ring card in Trump Lenormand spreads to, or just political readings in general that involve Trump. We reassigned this to his shadowy alliances and, his secret organizations and things like that. So there's news being brought from either about those entities or from those entities directly, something being brought out, some type of messaging brought out into the sun and being revealed in the public eye. So that's interesting, considering that, we had something up here, like a big challenge, kind of making its way slowly into the public eye and staying there. And I hope that we're not getting energy again in regard to the Epstein thing. I'm kind of hoping that this might be like a new issue, just because I would love to see Donald Trump have a new issue to deal with on top of the Epstein stuff, to be quite honest. Okay. So this is possibly some type of financial thing. Could be even like a financial contract. It could have something to do with all that money, all those millions of dollars, between the Trump administration the first time around and Jeffrey Epstein. If you guys know what I'm talking about. So it looks like he's getting hit pretty hard here. With a new secrets. And that is actually our exit card for the spread. So now we only have the fate line. So what is in Donald Trump's fate line, you ask? Let's find out. the coffin, the bear, the stork, and the stars. So we're going to go ahead and place those down at the bottom. And I may actually need to move the camera. Okay, give me just 1 second. All right, I think you can see them all pretty well now, hopefully. Okay, now let's take a look at this tableau and see what all we've got. And I'll tell you guys, I made a little bit of a mistake here trying to use a bigger set of cards. I should have used my petite Lenormands, but I used my big ones because I love this deck so much, and I have the matching tarot deck to go with it. Just humor me, bear with me. So where do we start? Let's start with the four corners of the tableau. In the four corners, it certainly looks like, with the birds, the lily, the sun, and the book, certainly looks like we are going to have a revelation in regard to his health this month, within the first 2 weeks of August, probably, because we have like nervous chatter, the reference to old age. Now, the caveat here is that the lily card can represent some other things. Usually in these political spreads, I reassign them to be his presidential duty to the country. But for some reason, every time I've drawn the lily card for him in the past few readings, I just get the feeling like, oh, this is a reference to advanced age. So we'll say it could go either way. It could be advanced age reference, or it could be his presidential duty to the country. We have something being brought out into the light, something that's been kept a secret. So that's our four corners. Makes a lot of sense if you look at the center, where we have some type of diminishing effect on the White House, and another challenge getting in the way of him reestablishing his reputation. His reputation to who? Probably his base, probably, it looks like it could be the alliances that he's formed. Now, because the ring card is closest, and this could also be fears too, but because the ring card is closest here, I feel like there's a risk to his reputation for whoever this organization might be. And we don't know, we don't really have any way of knowing for sure who they are. We do have clues that, there's an abundance of them. So it could be a large organization, could be a financial institution of some sort. This is why I'm kind of thinking this might have something to do with all those millions of dollars that were transferred from the Trump administration to Jeffrey Epstein, is because it just kind of makes sense. So that could be what we see coming out within the first couple of weeks. There could be like a big argument in Congress about it. Who knows? It's at this point, everything going on with Congress is a disaster too, so we don't even know if we can depend on them to do anything at this point. But there is a sense of risk involved. And also below it, we have the coffin, which not a good sign for Trumpty Dumpty. There is something about these three cards here together, specifically the fact that we have the child, the literal child card. I keep thinking about kids. Something to do with kids, youth, young people, secrets. So interesting little detail right there. Let's take a look at Trump's placement himself. He is appearing for the first time in a while. He's back on his own top row. He had been out of control of everything in the past few readings, but in this situation, he believes himself to be in control of all of this energy. So on either side of him, we have the birds and we have the crossroads. So this is kind of indicative of kind of deciding on a path to go with verbal communication, gossip. There's a lot of perhaps criticism, nervous chatter going on, and him trying to sort out, where do I want to steer this ship? How do I want to kind of control this narrative? Now, if we look at this as possibly like a reference to Melania, if we just assume, which if you guys ever read that book about her, you would have known a long time ago, Melania she's not in a relationship with him. She hasn't been. I tell everybody, you got to read that book that her old BFF wrote, because that'll tell you everything you need to know. But if we look at this, we give them the benefit of the doubt, we could likely be seeing a situation where a long-term relationship is dissolved in the public eye. And that is the closest to him in his very near and near cards. So this could even be a reference to maybe Melania comes out publicly and says, I have divorced Donald. We are no longer together. Maybe she's tired of trying to keep up appearances, even for a paycheck. That could likely be, now that I'm thinking of it, that could have something to do with all of these references I keep getting to, like the removal of people, because that's been kind of a prominent theme for quite some time. She could be one of the people that is removed from his inner circle, at least the persona of their relationship in the public. So then we've got letter, tree, and clover. Now this is interesting because this combination came up before. I do think that this is, once again, some type of reference to his health. I don't know if we will be told about it. We do have a form of communication, the energy of that attached to these cards. And one thing that I have mentioned a time or two in passing is that I think a lot of the stuff that he's going through right now with all the controversies and kind of losing control of the narrative is bound to have an impact on his health. So I kind of feel like that could be what we're seeing, at least for the first half over here. I think that the messaging kind of changes as we get more towards the center and to the right. Because definitely feeling like this is some other type of problem coming his way. Now, it is far from him, so this could be something, this is supposed to be in the time frame of the first couple weeks of August, but this, could be something that's been slowly making its way out into visibility for a while, public visibility. So that, that could kind of pull it together and make it make sense. Down here, we covered these cards. He's got the broom and the scythe side by side. I feel like that's a good indicator that he is going to repeatedly get hit with some really bad situations that he does not want to deal with. And they just so happen to be on the outer edge of this block of cards right here. So not a good sign for him. Now, if we're looking at his fate line, we've got some type of big, powerful ending, some type of movement or change, and something spreading out, something, maybe possibly internet discourse related. I'm not really picking up anything super energetic about these four cards. Reports coming from inside the White House that Donald Trump is lashing out. Donald Trump is melting down. And since we have the stars card here, this could also be a reference to Truth Social.
Truth Social.
We could be seeing something involving that platform, possibly like a big security breach. I would say that that's already happened and that the users just weren't informed of it. Maybe he gets on there and has the crash out of a lifetime. We'll have to wait and see. Once again, I've got to point this out, the dog and the lady. That is the Loyalists and the administration. They are close and on the same line again. Now, for the last few readings, they've been moving farther and farther apart, and they haven't been on the same line when they used to be pretty consistently. So that's an interesting little detail. Could be that they are on the same page to either mitigate some type of trouble or confusion or skepticism, or they could be going at each other. And that's actually what it looks more like, is because they're kind of on either side of the clouds. So I kind of get the sense that they might be fighting each other publicly. We may see some of that going on in the news. Doesn't look like there's too much information about his health here. Nothing too significant. There is a rule in Lenormand that you do not want the tree card to be this close to you, so that's probably not a good sign that it's in his very near cards. A lot of the spreads that I've done for him recently, even the small ones, the heart keeps popping up, so I keep kind of thinking about that congestive heart failure theory from TikTok, and if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But we don't have, like the scythe or broom or coffin or anything up there. So I think that'll do it for the first couple weeks of August for Donald Trump. I will be back with another video where we look at the second half of the month and see what we can see. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and click the like button. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And if you're new here and you like political divination, feel free to stick around, hit the subscribe, become a member of our community here. And until next time, guys, have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you all very soon.